It ain't that type of video. What's up, guys? How you doing? I bet you're like, what the heck did I just click on? Rest assured, I'm sure you're in the right place, but let's make sure first, okay? I got a list for you. Let me find the list. Oh, here it is. All right, guys, here's the list. Are you a people pleaser? Do you feel insecure, or are you insecure? Do you feel like you're not worthy of love? Do you hide any parts of yourself to be accepted by others? Do you? Yeah, that's you? Okay, then yes, you are in the right place. See, if you seek external validation, you are not a driver in your life. You are a passenger. This is your life. But it doesn't have to be. Let me teach you how to get the keys back. No BS. Stay tuned. What's up? Hey, what's up? My name is Frankie. This is my first YouTube video. Thank you for joining me. Anyway, you know, if you guys were here right now, I would give you the biggest, fattest hug to let you know that I see you. You know, let's keep it real. In life, we all struggle, right? We all struggle. But for some of us, it can feel as if others don't see us and we don't even see ourselves. And when you feel like that, sometimes you may feel like you're lost or that you're missing to you. But it's not that you're missing. What's going on here that you don't realize is that somewhere down the line, your self-awareness has been put on pause. Let me say that to you one more time. Somewhere down the line, your self-awareness has been put on pause. Let's try and change that. I created this channel because I really wanted to show people and share with them how I got back to the foundation of me. There is so much power in having a strong foundation of yourself. Knowing the ways you want to move through the world and understanding yourself is the key to being happy and to fulfilling your purpose. So I'm hoping that the videos that I do share with you guys gives you that, what do you call it? That, oh my gosh, what do you call it? That aha moment. That aha moment. That whatever videos I share with you guys, that you get that aha moment to help you possibly change your perspective of how you see you. Sounds good? All right, cool. Hold up for a second. I want you to come a little closer. Come a little closer. I ain't gonna bite. Come closer. Check this out. Did you guys know that there's people out there telling other people to do you? Don't care what others say about you. Ignore the haters. Live in your purpose. Trust me, I'm sure it's coming from a good place, but what they don't realize, and what maybe you don't realize, is if you don't know who you are, you'll never get to do you. You'll never get to ignore the haters. See, if you seek external validation, that will never happen. So today's video is all about how to stop seeking external validation so that you, yes, I'm looking and I'm talking to you, can stop seeking external validation so that you can live in your purpose. Now understand this, your purpose, it doesn't have to be some kind of grand gesture or some big, life-changing, altering, purpose. What it has to do is make sense to you. Your purpose needs to make sense to you. Just like me sitting here right now doing this video, you guys are my purpose. You guys make sense to me, which is why I'm here. So this video will cover what is external validation, why the heck do we seek external validation, and then I'll go over the 4 steps that I personally took to stop seeking external validation. And those 4 steps, I've added them in the description bar below for you to download another time. You're welcome. All right, guys, I have a little favor to ask before we start. I spent a lot of time working on this video because I really wanted to provide you guys with good information, right? That you can really utilize and take back and apply it in your real life. So I'm asking if you don't mind, if you can watch this video from beginning to end. I got a few more favors, so hold on. And then also if you can like this video so much that I hear you loud and clear, and more importantly, comment, engage with me. Let me know if anything that I talked about in this video resonated with you. I really genuinely want to hear from you guys. All right, okay, that's it. That's all I'm asking, all right? All right, so what is external validation? External validation is looking outside of yourself for someone else's approval, opinion, or perceived value of who they think you are and how you should think because you don't have a clear understanding of self. Now, let me tell you guys, that kind of external validation is extremely problematic. Why? Because it causes havoc on your life. Now, external validation, when it's in partnership with internal validation, is a good form of external validation. So since I just said internal validation, let me explain to you really quickly what that is. Internal validation is when you look within because you know who you are and you trust you and your judgment. Now, internal validation alone, absent of external validation, is also another good form of validation. But I want to give you guys a quick example of when both internal and external work hand in hand. So, okay, this is something that most of us do, right? I'm not saying all of us, but most of us do. Let's say you have a favorite restaurant, right? And you recommend that restaurant that you love to your friends and your family, right? And you find out they went and checked out that restaurant, so you hit them up. You like, hey, so-and-so, what did you think of the restaurant, right? And let's say they go, well, you know, oh man, that place you recommended was crap. What the hell? Okay, well, you know, if they don't like the restaurant, they think it's crap. It don't matter to you. Why? Because it's your favorite restaurant, regardless if they liked it or not, right? So that is a great example when both internal and external work hand in hand. But now, come on, y'all. You know we ain't talking about that today. We're going to talk about external validation when it's problematic and it causes havoc on your life. And that type of external validation is when internal validation is completely absent. And that kind of external validation I call looking in other people's lanes. Okay, so why am I looking at other people's lanes? Okay, hold up. I'm about to tell you. Give me just 1 second. See, the reason why we seek external validation, there are so many different reasons, you know, and from talking to so many different people throughout the years and my own personal experience with seeking external validation, really what it boils down to is trauma. Yes, trauma. You see, traumatic experiences affect people in so many different ways. And what trauma does is it creates this alteration or disruption in the foundation of who you are and what your purpose is. Let me give you guys this quick example. Let's use a house, right? So the sole purpose of a house is to provide a safe environment for those who live in it. Now let's say that the foundation of that house has been altered and damaged. What happens now is that the purpose of that house is no longer clear because the house has been damaged. As with the house, if you don't do anything about the damage or alteration that you have experienced as you move through life, then what happens to you is subconsciously you start, so listen to this really carefully, guys. Subconsciously, you start to move through the world in a state I call a constant state of trauma replay. And the trauma is buried so deep in your subconscious, you don't even know that you're in a constant state of trauma replay. Oh my goodness, what the heck is that? What is a constant state of trauma replay? Okay, hold on. I'll tell you what it means. It's actually a term that I came up with because it really resonated with me. So let me define it for you guys. A constant state of trauma replay means as your subconscious needing constant external forces to make you feel better because the side effects of the trauma that you've experienced has stopped you from establishing a complete sense of self, and you're trying to figure it out through the lens of other people. Hence why you seek external validation, aka looking in other people's lane. All right, guys, it's very important that you understand what exactly I mean here. Being in a constant state of trauma replay is the side effect of the impact of the trauma, not the actual event of the trauma. To make sure you guys really understand this so that you know how it will apply to your life or how it does apply to your life, let me give you a quick example. Now, let's say you're in a relationship, right? And either your spouse, boyfriend, or your girlfriend, they cheat on you. So in this scenario, cheating on you is the trauma. Now, the side effects of being cheated on is lack of trust, not feeling like you're good enough, wondering what's wrong with you, just to name a few. By not addressing the side effects of the trauma and how it made you feel, you have now unknowingly created a binding contract with yourself that will keep you in a constant state of trauma replay. That contract will now create a blinding effect to your self-awareness, which is exactly the same as pushing pause or hitting pause on your self-awareness. Let that sink in for a second. I know this to be true because, you see, I lived most of my life in a constant state of trauma replay, and I had no idea. I had no clue. My trauma was buried so deep in my subconscious that it wasn't until a little over a year ago when my mom passed that all that childhood trauma that I swore I took care of decades prior came rearing its ugly head in an almost crippling effect on my once so-called balanced life. You see, when I lost my mom, I was extremely devastated. I was lost. I was a hot mess. So when I speak of my childhood trauma today, understand this. It's coming from a place of now understanding how your own parents, well, my mom, she was a single parent, or parent, could have experienced their own trauma. And if they've never taken care of that trauma as they move through life, they too can inflict that same trauma on those they love, whether it's their spouse, their children, their friends, whomever they come in contact. And they may or may not even realize the damage that they have done or have been doing or have done to that person. You see, my trauma replay was that I never felt special, supported, or important in the eyes of my mom at a very early age, up until the end of her life. You see, as a child, you look to your parents for safety, support, and love. And for me, my mom, you know, she would always tell me that I was ugly and that no one would want me. You know, you see, I heard this so often that honestly, it just felt normal to me. You know, I have 3 siblings, and my mom, she would often rank us based on looks. And You know, I would always be last after the dog. Dang, why I gotta be after the dog? See, I can laugh about it now, but back then, trust me, it was not funny, you know, because our dog was not cute, okay? I'm just kidding, he was cute. All dogs, I love dogs, all dogs are cute, okay? Anyway, you know, what was confusing for me growing up and hearing this all the time is that when I went out into the real world, I had no issue making friends. You know, people would tell me I was beautiful on a regular basis. So living in this polar opposite reality was extremely confusing and traumatizing for me. You see, on one end, at home, I felt ugly, worthless, and that no one wanted me. But outside in the real world, I felt beautiful. I felt powerful. You know, people, they really made me feel special and they made me feel important. And so what that did to me is it taught me at a very early age to look out in the outside world and outside of myself to feel special and important. So that need is what started my own journey with seeking external validation. You know, guys, working through the steps I'm about to go over with you guys shortly has really just, oh my goodness, opened my eyes and just helped me to realize just how powerful trauma can be in your life, just how it can just really alter the course that you take in life. And you don't even realize it. You see, when you start working through these steps, well, this is what I'm hoping. This is what happened to me, right? And I'm hoping that this happens for you as well. When you start working through these steps, you start to see yourself in a whole different light. And you start to realize things that you have done and why you have done it. Now, understand this. The trauma doesn't go away right away. It is a process. It is a journey that requires you to put in the work. But trust me, if you put in the work, you will start to learn yourself in a way that will just, let me just say this, will help you move through the world to fulfill your purpose. At least that's what it did for me. All right, guys, so let's discuss the steps. Now, I just want to say this. If you've made it this far, look at you. Look at you. If you made it this far, that is something to be celebrated because you are starting to make you a priority, just like I made myself a priority. Getting back to the foundation of you is key to living the kind of life you truly want to live. Now, these steps that I'm about to go over, what they did for me, and I'm hoping they do for you, is they help me deal with things that happened in the past and anything that I face today. And I know, and I'm confident that whatever I face in the future, these steps will continue to serve me well. All right, you guys ready? Enough talking about them. Let's talk about them. Ay. Step 1 is called the discovery phase. This phase is so important because here's where you're going to go deep into your subconscious to unlock the root cause of your trauma. This phase is meant to help you go deep and rip off the layers one by one by asking yourself targeted questions, okay? So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is your earliest memory of any kind of pain or trauma that you're experienced, right? You want to think about the earliest memory. So to help you guys navigate through the step, let me use through these steps, all these steps, let me use myself as an example, right? So the first question I asked myself was, what was my earliest memory of any kind of trauma or pain? And so for me, it was when my mom called me ugly and told me that no one would want me, right? So once you figure out the earliest memory, right? So once you figure that out, then that's when you want to start asking yourself targeted questions. So the first question I asked myself is, how did it make me feel? Well, it made me feel worthless and less than. Okay, so then what does it mean to feel worthless or less than? You really want to think about how you really feel, right, when you answer these questions. Well, it made me feel that, you know, I'm not special and I'm not important. I'm not special and I'm not important. Ding, ding, ding. For me, you guys, that is when the breakthrough started. So I wanted to go deeper, so I asked myself more questions. Okay, so was there ever any time in your life that you did feel special or important? Yes, when I went out into the real world. I was making a lot of progress here, so then I asked myself one more question. All right, so the last question that I asked myself was, how does the need to feel special or important look like in your life today? Straight out goosebumps. Every time I read that question or I say that question or I tell anybody about that question and my answer, I always get goosebumps because it was at that very moment that the real breakthrough for me happened. You see, it was at that very moment that I had realized almost everything that I had did in my life was to fill that void of not feeling special or important. You see, not feeling special and important was the side effect of my trauma that subconsciously kept me in a constant state of trauma replay. You see, I just wasn't aware of the magnitude of what I was holding on. You see, my childhood trauma was so powerful. It had this grip on my life and I didn't even know it. You see, the weight of figuring that all out made me feel extremely emotional. But the funny thing is that it also made me feel very powerful. You see, the crazy thing is when you think you're self-aware, but you're really not, I thought I was one of the most self-aware people you would ever know. Apparently I wasn't, right? So if you guys recall what I talked about earlier in this video, when I gave you the definition or how I defined what it meant to be in a constant state of trauma replay, one of the things I said in there, amongst many things that I said in there, was if you do absolutely nothing about the side effect of the trauma, you unknowingly create a binding contract with yourself. And that binding contract will create a blinding effect to your self-awareness. And that is exactly what happened to me. And I had no clue. You see, had I never did step 1, the discovery phase, then I wouldn't have figured that out. I would have stayed living in that constant state. You see, the crazy thing is when you think you're self-aware, but you're really not. You see, if anyone would have asked me, Frankie, do you have a need to feel special, to feel important, or do you seek external validation? I'd have said no. I don't. Before they even finished asking me, I would have cut them off and said, no, not me. I know who I am. I'm confident. Really? Really? And that's why it's so important that you look at yourself and you really, really take a hard look at yourself. These steps will allow you to do that because you only know what you know, right? That's what anything in your subconscious does to you. You don't know what's doing it, right? I just didn't understand the magnitude of what I was holding on. You see, I wasn't aware that my childhood trauma had that much of a powerful grip on my life like it did. Now guys, once you have sat in this phase and you've really asked yourself those targeted questions, now it's time for you to move on to step 2. Step 2, let me tell you this is where the real work begins, okay? Step 2 is where the real work begins. This is called the grieving phase. This phase is extremely important. I cannot stress that enough because here's where you're going to sit in your feelings of what you discovered in the discovery phase. You are grieving the root and how it has affected you. You are grieving how it has impacted your life overall, right? You are grieving why you let it affect you. You are grieving every single emotion that comes up during this phase. And how you grieve is unique to you in your experience, right? Some people can grieve this phase or this step. When I say phase, I mean step, so I use them interchangeably. Fast, others can grieve it slow. But whatever you unearth, know this, those experiences and those feelings are true to you and your experience. No one else's but yours, okay? Quick little disclaimer. No matter how fast or slow you grieve, the grieving phase really does take a while to heal from, right? So just understand that. And I think what happens to a lot of people during this phase, because it happened to me, is that we get stuck on why did this happen to me, right? Why couldn't I have been strong enough? What if it had never happened to me? Where would I be today? Stop it. Seriously, guys, stop it. Because you know what? You can't go back and change what happened to you. But what you can do, and something you should get excited about, is that you can do something about it now. You can do something about it now. Right? I understand, trust me, because for me, the why was the hardest thing for me to overcome, you know? But to be honest with you, the longer I sat in my feelings here, I stopped asking myself why, and my mind, my body, my soul shifted to not why, but saying, you know what? I am special. I am important. I don't need anyone to validate me. I am enough. So, guys, let me just I want to make sure that we're clear and we're on the same page about this step. The grieving phase is never ever about letting something go, okay? It's about understanding what has happened to you, processing it, owning it, so that you can fully grieve it. Let me tell you this, I made that mistake decades ago of just letting go of my childhood trauma. You see, I did do a little bit of therapy, but for the most part, if I'm being real and honest with myself, I let it go. I call that fake grieving. Anytime you fake it till you make it kind of anything, it's not really doing it the right way. Really, it's not. Especially when it comes to your emotions and who you are. Don't fake through these steps. Really do all these steps thoroughly, right? Trust me, you don't want to, there's no shortcuts to you. You don't want any shortcuts to you, right? You want to do it the right way. So now what I understand is that grieving equals healing. Healing equals freedom. Freedom from being in a constant state of trauma replay. Freedom from sleepwalking through your life. Freedom from not feeling like you're good enough. And the list goes on and on. Trust me, guys. I get it. I get it. What the grieving phase does is it forces you to have to face your fears. And trust me, I know that can be a scary place to be in, especially if you've had those feelings suppressed for so long. It's like you almost want to say, well, why even, they've been suppressed for so long, why even deal with it? No. You know why? Because you matter. Because you legit matter. That's why. After you guys have sat in the grieving phase and you feel like you're ready to move on to step 3, that's always a good thing, just so you know that. Step 3, the forgiveness phase. Now, think of this phase as the beginning to the end of being in a constant state of trauma replay. As with step 2, I gave you a disclaimer later on, but for this phase, we're gonna actually begin with a disclaimer because I already know what's gonna happen, yeah, and I'm looking at you, okay? You know who you are. So do not come to this phase or this step saying, I'll forgive you, but I won't forget. Nah, we ain't having that. You wanna know why? By saying that, what you're doing is you're putting that trauma back into your subconscious. And we all know from this video, when you don't deal with the side effects of the trauma, what happens? Then you stay in a constant state of trauma replay. The whole purpose is to get out of that state, okay? I understand. I know I keep saying I understand because I legit do understand. A lot of us suffer from this, right? The reason why you typically say that you won't forget is because a lot of times, often, when people hurt us, right, we want them to know what they've done to us, right? We want them to own it, and sometimes we may even want them to feel what they've done to us. We want them to understand the magnitude of how messed up or effed up it was of what they did to us, right? We want them to own it, but guess what? More than likely, they won't ever own it. And if they do own it, it won't be the way that you want them to. Why keep yourself hostage? Why? Forgive completely. The key here is to free yourself of the pain, to free yourself of the time lost, to free yourself of the trauma. You know what they did to you. You know. Free yourself to allow yourself to walk through life in a totally different light, a higher frequency, so that you can get to your purpose, so you can live in your purpose, so you can be self-aware and happier. Now, if you feel like you're still struggling and what I said to you just is not going to happen, then all that means is that you moved over to this phase too quickly and that you need to take your booty back over to step 2, the grieving phase, and you need to sit in that pain. You need to sit in that feeling, you know, that feeling that you have when you can't let something go, and ask yourself more targeted questions, right? And when you've done that and you feel like you are ready, then come back over to the forgiveness phase, because it should sound something like this. I forgive you, whoever that person is. I forgive myself for not knowing how to deal or handle the pain. I forgive those whom I may have hurt because of my pain or my trauma, because trust me, you've probably hurt people too, and you don't even realize. You might realize it, or you might not. I want you guys to end the forgiveness phase with affirmations. You choose whatever affirmations that you want, but I'll tell you what I said, right? I said, I am beautiful, I am enough, I am special, I love and I value me. I highly, highly suggest that you guys make daily affirmations a part of your life, or whatever, or not even necessarily daily affirmations. It's whatever resonates with you that uplifts you. Okay, whatever that is, make that a daily routine. Okay, so once you have forgiven and you can forget, it's time to move on to step 4. All right, guys, step 4 is called the now phase. Now, this phase is the most exciting phase because whether or not you realize it, up until this point, if you were living your life in a constant state of trauma replay, then you were a passenger in your life. If you work through all the steps that I provided you, you know, not fake through them, but work through them, then let me say, welcome to day 1 of becoming the driver in your life. What's exciting about this step is that you're starting over, but you're starting over from a place with experience on your side, right? I highly suggest, as painful as this may be for some of you guys, everything I'm suggesting is stuff that I actually did, is that you have to take a step back and reassess the people that you have in your life. Do they add value in your life? And the reason why you want to do this is that once you start raising your frequency higher, you don't want anyone in your circle or in your life that's going to lower your frequency, causing you to become a passenger again. I highly recommend spending some time alone, getting to know yourself, right? Rediscover what it is that you're passionate about. Rediscover what it is that you love, right? What makes you want to go out and do it, right? What makes you feel the most alive? Right? You may not even realize that maybe nothing has made you feel alive up until this point, right? That's why you got to spend time alone to get to know yourself. Also, another great way to connect with yourself is doing daily meditations, right? So then you might want to ask yourself, what does this all mean, right? What does all of this mean? let me take you guys on just a quick little journey, okay? I want to help you guys understand it this way. When we're born, we all have our own unique lane that is specially designed for us. When we're younger, our lane is clear, and we're able to see so clearly what we want to do when we grow up. What happens is, as we experience any kind of trauma, pain, or grief throughout our lives, our lane starts to gather debris, trash, and is congested with a bunch of crap. That once clear lane to our purpose is now out of sight, out of reach. So we tend to look to other people's lanes to try to figure out who we are, where we're going, and what are we supposed to do. At the end of the day, all you feel is lost. And what you don't realize is that the time you spend looking in other people's lanes, you've been sleepwalking through your life. Making you a priority and working through the congestion in your lane is the key to living in your purpose. Today, I talked about what is external validation, looking in other people's lanes. Why the heck do we seek external validation? Because I don't see me. Do you see me? You see, that's what trauma does to you. And then I went over the 4 steps that I personally took to stop seeking external validation. Step 1, the discovery phase, uncovering the root. Step 2, the grieving phase, sitting in the pain. Step 3, the forgiveness phase, the beginning to the end of being in a constant state of trauma replay. And then step 4, the now phase, becoming the driver. You see, guys, my trauma may be different than your trauma, but make no mistake, trauma is trauma. And the steps that I share with you guys today can serve you in almost anything that you face in life. Now, here are some things to think about so that you can start clearing your lane. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, do you seek external validation? Do you feel hurt by things that have happened to you in the past? Do you feel lost or stuck in life? Guys, if this video resonated with you in any way, I highly suggest you download the steps that I discussed today. I've added them in the description bar for you to utilize whenever you're ready. All I ask is that you guys like this video, remember, loud and clear so that I hear you, and then comment, let me know. Let me know if, anything in this video resonated with you, if you like this kind of content, because I want to continue to keep bringing this stuff to you. I really want to share with you guys how I get back to the foundation of me, and I'm telling you, it has changed my life, okay? It has changed my life. And I want to help in any way that I can, because you guys are my purpose. I want you guys to expose your light as I expose my own light, right? I'm really looking forward to helping you guys just see yourself in a totally different way and to take the pause button off of your self-awareness, because we all matter, right? We all matter, and we can all do really great things in life if we could just get out of our way. Remember, I see you. Now it's time for you to see you. And it's also time for me to finish what I started earlier. You know what I'm talking about, right? Twerking. It ain't that type of video. Yeah, that's me.